Women have been flying planes since the beginning of the 20th century, with Harriet Quimby as the first American female to earn a pilot's license in 1911. In 1943, the Women Air Force Service Pilots, or WASP program, emerged. Those women became the first females involved with American military aviation. The WASP were pilots during World War II that flew all missions short of combat. Unfortunately, after a bitter fight about the incorporation of the WASP program into the Air Force, the program was terminated and American female pilots were kept off the front lines for another 50 years. It wasn't until 1993 that Major General Jeannie Flynn, at the age of 26, having been in the Air Force for 2 years, became the first female to fly a fighter jet for the United States Air Force.
For Nicole Malachowski, born Nicole Ellingwood, it all started with a dream. Born in Santa Maria, California on September 26, 1974, Nicole knew early on that she wanted to fly. It was at an air show at the age of 5 that she was inspired by an F-4 Phantom bomber plane. Nicole recalls looking to her dad and saying, "I want to be a fighter pilot someday." American women were still 15 years away from flying their first fighter aircraft, but nevertheless, she held on to that dream. As a teen, Nicole was a cadet member of the Civil Air Patrol in Nevada. She had such a passion for flying that she got her pilot's license before her driver's license at the age of 16. Once done with high school, she turned down acceptances into the Naval and Coast Guard academies in favor of being accepted into the Air Force Academy. She earned a Bachelor of Science in Management with a minor in French and United States Air Force Academy. While at the academy, she was both a pilot and cadet instructor pilot in the academy's TG-4 glider program. In 1996, she graduated high in her class. She later earned a master's degree from the American Military University in National Security Policy and a second degree in National Security and Strategic Studies from the United States War College, where she graduated with the highest distinction. She moved on to fly an F-15E with the 336th Fighter Squadron in North Carolina as part of the first group of women to fly fighter aircraft for the United States Air Force. By 2005, there would only be 71 female fighter pilots in the United States Air Force.
Her first major assignment was the United States and Canada's operation related to Homeland Security to support federal, state, and local agencies following 9/11. This was called Operation Noble Eagle. Nicole's first combat mission proved to be her most difficult mission. This was Operation Deliberate Forge, now called the Allied Force. The operation was a 78-day bombing campaign over Yugoslavia, fighting for the humanitarian rights of the Albanians in Kosovo. The bombing campaign resulted in roughly 500 civilian deaths. NATO's statement on these deaths is, "There's always a cost to defeating evil. It never comes free, unfortunately."
Malachowski's proudest moment occurred in 2001 when she led the first formation of fighter aircraft over Baghdad on the historic Iraqi election day. This was part of Operation Iraqi Freedom that promoted democracy in Iraq and monitored the weapons of mass destruction being created there. In doing this, Malachowski aided America in breaking barriers for worldwide democracy. During a later assignment in England as a ground training officer, she met her husband Paul Malachowski, and in 2010 they had twins Nora and Garrick.
Malachowski on many occasions has confessed that when she decided to apply to be a Thunderbird, she didn't even recognize that she would be the first female if she was to be accepted. Unfortunately, Nicole was forced to face the same discrimination that women have been fighting for hundreds of years.
You know, Nicole, they've never had a woman Thunderbird pilot before. And it was interesting because, to be honest with all of you, I had never even considered that they hadn't had a woman Thunderbird because it didn't matter. It didn't seem like it was an issue, but in those moments and in those conversations, I realized it was an issue. I got to turn in all this stuff, all my performance reports, and the last and most coveted thing that was weighted the most was a letter of recommendation from the first full-bird colonel in your chain of command. Now, this is intimidating. I was a captain at the time. This was a full-bird colonel. I said, yeah, well, I drafted the letter. Here you go. All you have to do is sign it. And then someone on the staff decided to just kind of up the game, and they said to me, you know, Nicole, they haven't had a woman Thunderbird pilot before. He only has one number one recommendation to give. We're not sure we want to waste it. And my squadron commander comes running over. He says, General, did you know Nicole is going to apply to be a Thunderbird pilot? And I was like, oh, ixnay, no. Then I said it. It came out of my own mouth. I said, you know, sir, they haven't had a woman Thunderbird pilot before, so it's probably not going to happen. All of these things that I had never even thought, I let other people put into my own head, was now coming out of my own mouth. And I'm just like looking up at him, yap, 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 yap. And he looks down at me, he's like, well, great, have you asked anybody or had anybody do the letter of recommendation for you? And like, dagger in the heart again. And I look up at him, and a little liquid courage, and I said, no, sir, I haven't, but I'm hoping that you'll write one. And he did. And he did.
Despite these difficulties, through many years of hard work, Nicole became Thunderbird.
Colonel Nicole Malachowski was the first female to fly on any Department of Defense military jet demonstration team. She flew as a member of the United States Air Force Thunderbirds as number 3 in an F-16E, performing numerous aerial feats such as calypso passes, reflection passes, arrowhead loops, crossover breaks, delta bursts, diamond openers, high bomb bursts, and inverted opposing knife edge maneuvers. She practiced these for 2 years with the team. The Thunderbird's mission is to exhibit the professional qualities of the Air Force's high-performance craft and those who fly, maintain, and support the aircraft through performing precise aerial maneuvers for people all over the world.
In 2008, after her time spent with the Thunderbirds, Malachowski was offered a White House fellowship. There, she toured the White House and worked on the General Services Administration with the Presidential Transition Support Team as Deputy Chief of Staff. She advocated the recognition of women pilots who served during World War II. She did this by authoring legislation number S614 that awarded the WASP with the Congressional Medal of Honor. In September 2015, Malachowski was sworn in as a new executive director of the White House's Joining Forces Initiative, which had a stated goal of helping all Americans better understand the sacrifices of troops, veterans, and their families. She worked directly for Ms. Michelle Obama and helped guide White House policy in light of all issues concerning service members, veterans, and military families, from education and employment to wellness. This program aided in acquiring jobs for retired service members as well.
As of January 1, 2018, Malachowski was forcefully retired from her position as an active duty colonel in the United States Air Force. She was declared unfit for duty due to the long-lasting effects of tick-borne Lyme disease.
I thought I was tough as a combat-proven fighter pilot, but tick-borne illness destroyed me, brought me to my knees, and ruthlessly broke me.
Because of this experience, Nicole became an advocate for Lyme disease education and research, particularly its impacts on the American military troops. After her recovery, she became a public speaker, citing anecdotes from her time as a trainee, a fighter pilot, and her experience breaking the barrier of crippling Lyme disease to inspire people to achieve their goals and adapt to change.
In September of 2019, Malachowski was inducted into the National Women's Hall of Fame. There, she is recognized for breaking barriers in the Air Force and for educating people about tick-borne illness. In the Hall of Fame, Nicole stands next to other remarkable women such as Susan B. Anthony and Amelia Earhart.
Malachowski is responsible for breaking several different barriers across various fields.
She became a fighter pilot despite their scarcity in the United States Air Force.
She was part of a collective that broke barriers for democracy during Operation Iraqi Freedom. This was an important achievement for Iraq, America, and Nicole's career.
She then went on to break the gender barrier as the first female to fly on any Department of Defense military jet demonstration team. As a Thunderbird, she was a role model for young girls everywhere, showing them that they can do anything they set their minds to.
During her White House fellowship, she helped guide policy for the well-being of veterans and service members as well as their families.
She also helped break barriers for female World War II pilots by advocating for their veterans' rights.
Then, even after she suffered a debilitating illness and was forced to retire from her dream job, she used that experience to educate and uplift others, showing that perseverance and reaching for the sky can break barriers.
You shouldn't be talking to those girls about that. Ladies don't fly planes. He looked right at me and he said, "I hope you crash." I'll never forget it.